Rays bats provided some Friday night fireworks last night, slugging a season-high 3 home runs and scoring 12 on their way to a third consecutive victory. Tonight, the Rays look to continue their winning ways in Game 2 versus the Blue Jays. Welcome to a Saturday evening of Rays baseball as we greet you from Tropicana Field. This will be Game 2 of the 3-game series here between the Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. Both clubs coming in with records of 9-8. The Rays have won 4 of 5 in the season series between these two teams. Hi again, everyone, with Brian Anderson. I'm Dwayne Stats. So good to have you looking in tonight as the Rays and the Blue Jays square off. Well, last night, 3 home runs and 12 runs total, season's high for the Rays. And boy, you see offense coming from all parts of this lineup, including Tim Beckham, who has surprised people with his power.
One of the questions coming into the season for the Rays, would this finally be the year that Tim Beckham would make a splash at the big league level? The early returns, it's a resounding yes. One thing I like what the Rays have done is Tim Beckham has appeared in 16 of the 17 games for the Rays, and these are his numbers. The 3 home runs, 8 driven in, the 278 average. Most of his damage has come off the bench as a pinch hitter. He's 4 for 8 as a pinch hitter, including those 3 home runs. 4 runs driven in, had the big home run, one of the big home runs last night, and tonight he earns himself a start as a designated hitter. How fitting.
And he will face the young left-hander Daniel Norris for Toronto. Erasmo Ramirez will make his second start for the Rays. Last night, all those runs, Steven Souza Jr. had the night off. But what a start he has put together here. And in no small part does that start have something to do with his pregame regimen. Todd Callis will look into that when we return.
pregame routine prior to a Saturday night contest between the Jays and the Rays. Good crowd gathering at Tropicana Field. When you think about when things turned around for Steven Souza Jr., it really started 11 days ago against this starter for the Blue Jays tonight, Daniel Norris. And one of the techniques he brought over that really helps him track baseballs is something he works with Coach Jamie Nelson on. It is called small ball. Not what Joe Madden brought to the Rays, but his own version where he wears goggles, it limits his vision, and they throw these little tiny baseballs and helps him track the baseball. We talked to both Jamie Nelson and the man himself, Steven Souza Jr., about what this helps with. Here's what they had to say.
It just turns it off. It puts it pitch black, so now you can't see a small ball half the time, so it's challenging.
Well, at the very least, it intensifies concentration. They're very hard and difficult to hit and to square up. They're also very hard to throw for a strike anyway, but it helps him with his route to the ball and to keep the eye on the ball at the point of contact. And as of right now, it makes him feel good, so it's a psychological advantage at the very least.
It just simulates seeing something smaller. You see the same thing over and over again, and it becomes muscle memory. And so I try and simulate seeing something smaller like a seed or anything smaller than that. And then when the ball comes up, it looks a lot bigger.
The pitch he saw from Norris must have looked like a beach ball. He hit it 463 feet in Toronto. They face off again tonight as we're ready for baseball. 3 minutes and 12 seconds till the first pitch. Norris against the Rays. Erasmo Ramirez. Enjoy all the action right around the corner.
Game 2 of the series between the Rays and the Blue Jays. Erasmo Ramirez will be on the hill for the Rays, and we'll take a look at the Toronto Blue Jay lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Jose Reyes leads it off, then Devon Travis and Josh Donaldson, Encarnacion, Smoke, and Martin down the middle. Michael Saunders off the DL, getting the start in right in front of Kevin Pillar, and then Dalton Pompey. Here is the first pitch of this game tonight, and a broken bat, ground ball right back to Ramirez. So we're underway. That first pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny.
Well, for Erasmo Ramirez, he is looking for a little bit of payback. You see his numbers on the season. His one start came against the Blue Jays in Toronto. Did not go very well. 3 1/3 innings. Gave up 9 hits, 9 runs, 8 of them earned. So he will be looking to tip the scales here Saturday night.
There's Travis off to a great start in his rookie year. Hitting .375, cut and a miss. Ramirez quickly in front. Our GMC big matchup and a 10-game hitting streak for this rookie second baseman. Hits it the other way. Souza Jr. got a late start on that one. It carries over his head and into second base. Standing is Travis. Well, Travis extends his hitting streak on an 0-2 pitch. He takes the other way.
Well, we talked a little bit about last night, the way that Travis is set up. The way that his stance is, he's designed to drive the ball the other way. We saw him pull one last night because he's got quick hands, but he has juice to right field, right center field, and you see he's able to get that line drive over the head of Souza Jr. and get out into scoring position.
Well, what a start he has had. Young infielder out of Florida State. Donaldson lifts a fly ball into short left center, dropping in front of Geyer, and here comes Travis around to score. And just like that, the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead.
Well, being hurt on an 0-2 pitch to Travis, not very good. And then Josh Donaldson able to attack early here. Did not hit that ball hard, but the placement. Here's the pitch. It's going to get up and in a little bit on Donaldson, but he fought it off and was able to drop it out there in front of Brandon Geyer in left center field.
There's Edwin Encarnacion. And there's a strike. And boy, Ramirez has been something of a mystery here for the Rays to try to get him on track. 2 innings against the Marlins, 7 runs, 3 1/3 against the Blue Jays, 9 runs, 8 earned. And that 1 inning against the Yankees. They're now making this start, his second start, and the Blue Jays get to him for a run early.
Well, we've seen glimpses of what Ramirez, can do. Short little glimpses this year. We've seen it in the last couple of years. He's had parts of 3 seasons in the big leagues coming into this year. Fastball, low 90s. You can see by his arm angle, tries to create some movement with it.
To pop up right side, and Forsythe after it. He is going to be there and make the catch. Wilson wasn't sure where that ball was back of the plate, and Forsythe hustling into foul ground. Grabs it for the second out.
Well, let's take a look at the Rays defense as it lines up. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we have Brandon Geyer, Desmond Jennings, and Steven Souza Jr. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Asdrubal Cabrera. Jake Elmore gets a start at second base, and Logan Forsythe. Bobby Wilson behind the dish.
Now Justin Smoke back in the Toronto lineup at first base. Strike on the inside part of the plate. Two had him out in front, both Ramirez and Smoke at one time members of the Seattle Mariners. Down and in, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
One of the things that you will learn here tonight, Erasmo Ramirez, he's got a good changeup. It's one of the pitches that the Rays really liked that he brought to the table. This is an organization that really values the changeup, and he's got a good one. And he really likes to use it ahead in the count, 2 strikes, especially against left-handed hitters.
inside with the fastball. And with left-handed hitters up there, he's pretty much been a two-pitch pitcher with that fastball changeup.
Yep. And most of the time working them middle of the plate, away, up and down. And that's where he can become a little bit predictable.
Cut the miss. He has him out in front. Strikes him out with the changeup. A run home for Toronto. Rays coming in to hit. Presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Brandon Guyer leads it off. Then Steven Souza Jr. hits second back in there tonight in front of Asdrubal Cabrera. Evan Longoria, the cleanup man. Desmond Jennings hits fifth. Logan Forsythe sixth. Tim Beckham will serve as the DH. Jake Elmore hits eighth and second. And Bobby Wilson does the catching, hitting ninth.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays, left-hander Daniel Norris, his fourth start of the season. The Rays, they've already seen him once, and he's looking to get things on the right track. Just a 1-1 record, ERA of over 6, and coming off of a tough outing against the Braves. Didn't get out of the third. 2 2/3, 5 runs, 4 of them earned.
Brandon Guyer takes the first pitch too high. A fastball. Daniel Norris pitching on his 22nd birthday here tonight. Finds the strike zone. It's 1-1. Guyer hitting .250. His on base percentage, however, has been up over 400. 2-2.
That's what the Rays are looking for out of that leadoff spot. Not necessarily a big base stealer, a big speed guy. They want somebody that can get on base. And Brandon Guyer, you're right, has shown the ability to do just that.
You know, he's shown the ability to extend some at bats. He's a guy who he'll get hit by a pitch once in a while. Pretty good at that. He'll lay down a bunt. He'll work the count. A little tap back to the mound. Norris will underhand this one to Smoke.
Now let's take a look at the Toronto Blue Jay defense as it lines up behind Norris tonight. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield, left to right, Dalton Pompey, Kevin Pillar, and Michael Saunders. Across the infield, third to first, Josh Donaldson, Jose Reyes, Devin Travis, and Justin Smoke. Russell Martin back behind the dish.
And here is Steven Souza Jr. And the night off last night against the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. Ball, no strikes. Let's take a look at that shot to center field. Souza hit off Norris up in Toronto. He truly hit that one out of sight. That was up over that advertisement sign out there in center field and into the restaurant.
The sound coming off of that ball coming off of his bat from our vantage point just reverberate. I mean, you knew that was going to have special distance just by the crack. That was something else.
3-1. They assessed that at 463 feet, but we think in terms of comparing that to other blasts that had been documented at the time, and Jim Thome hit one out there, maybe the first one up in that particular section, at least one of the first, and I think that was designated as 480 plus.
Yeah, that was almost 490.
Yeah.
I think it was like the upper 80s. And that shot by Souza Jr. every bit as far.
And there is ball 4. Souza Jr. draws the walk. Norris thought he might have had the zone on that one. So finished that pitch looking in.
So did Russell Martin. Watch Russell Martin after he receives this, and he's starting to think about throwing it down to third.
Jerry Meals is working the plate tonight. He's the crew chief. Been in the big leagues as long as the Tampa Bay franchise. He came in 1998. There's Drupal Cabrera. Looks at a strike.
Daniel Norris has that high three-quarter arm angle. Really tries to drive the ball downhill, create angle, create leverage, and then work in the fastball or the slider, the curveball, and a changeup. All 4 of the traditional pitches he will feature.
And he's ahead of Cabrera. Asdrubal's still looking for his first hit as a right-handed hitter. From the left side, he's hitting .280. Right now, 0 for 14 against lefties.
Well, he's got a huge hole to work with on the right side if he so chooses.
Into the dirt. It's blocked by Russell Martin.
And that was a nice block by Russell Martin. Souza Jr. down at first base. Good speed, aggressive base runner.
Yeah, he's shown some very good instincts on the bases. He's involved.
That's one of his real strengths. You know, we talk about his power, some of the other parts of his game, but tremendous base runner.
And a cut and a foul tip strikeout. Herrera is out, number 2. Here's Evan Longoria. Evan was 0 for 1 with a walk against Norris up at Rogers Center in Toronto. He takes him the other way, foul, out of play.
Quite the journey for Daniel Norris as he went through A-ball, AA, AAA, and a big league call-up all last season.
Yeah, it's difficult to make that kind of trip through the minor leagues and wind up in the major leagues. This ball's got some hang time, and it's going to drop. It's a fair ball, and now pops away again. The run will score. Throw's going to be to third, and Longoria is out there. But the Rays get a run as Souza crosses the plate. Boy, that ball did have some hang time. Dropped just fair. And then bounced away, allowing the Rays the opportunity to tie this game. You see it right on the line. And at the end of an inning, we're tied 1-1. left field line. Picks up an RBI, getting Sousa home, and then he's thrown out trying to get to third. The second baseman Travis to the third baseman Donaldson. So we're tied at the end of an inning, and the first pitch to Russell Martin is a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Two and 0.
Well, you were absolutely right about that pop-up. Tons of hang time. No one could get to it. Travis, the only one that was even close.
Yeah, there are two things that, to me at least, are a little surprising. It had such hang time, and no one could get there to catch it. And then after all of that time, Longoria was out easily at third.
Yep.
Both of those things surprised me.
Yep. Well, first you get the pop-ups down the line. When they land out by the Rays bullpen and they're up in the air that long and nobody can get to them, you're still a little disappointed. Like, man, it was up there forever. But for it to land in fair territory, where's the defense?
Take a look at this.
Well, Smoke kind of gives up on it over his head, bad angle, and then just no man's land. Travis is hustling, but he has to go a long way.
And see, here's the other thing. That ball popped away from him.
Yeah, well, and off Travis's glove. It went off of his glove. And so that allowed, Evan even a little bit more time to get over to third base, and just a goofy play all around.
But the Rays will certainly take the run.
Amen.
Ramirez 3-2 on Russell Martin. And that's a foul ball. And I think Martin's trying to convince Jerry Meals that he didn't make contact and it just bounced away from Wilson. And John Gibbons has a little conversation with Meals, maybe wanting him to ask for a little help.
He just asked Russell Martin, did that hit your bat? Better tell the truth. You go back and take a look. Here it is.
Sure it did.
Absolutely.
So Gibbons wants to continue this conversation.
Well, you know what? I wonder if he's saying that the tip of the bat hit the glove of Bobby Wilson. You go back and look at that replay that we just saw. The bat, as it makes contact with the ball, does it hit Bobby Wilson's catcher's mitt? It looked like it did, but after he hit the ball, here's he reaches. Can't really tell from here that other angles. Well, here we go.
Yeah, that's one of those. That's a pretty good angle there to maybe take another look at. Umpires, meanwhile, are going to have a little conference here.
And now you start talking about the timing of everything. Was it a timely enough of a challenge? Or can they? I mean, it's just another. You talk about a goofy play following a goofy play.
Yeah.
You got a foul ball. Maybe the bat hit the catcher's glove. It's been called into question.
Well, they're going to come up empty right there. You got 4 of them out there, and nothing that would compel them to change. The ground ball on this pitch to short. And Ramirez retires Martin after that long layoff. It's Cabrera to Forsythe.
I'll tell you what, Asdrubal Cabrera, he just shows you how smooth he is out there at shortstop. Tremendous hands. His throws have been so accurate, right on the money. He has that kind of like that low sidearm kind of delivery over to first base, and he just puts it in the same spot time and again.
Well, here's Michael Saunders. He's back in this lineup, back healthy in the lineup for the first time in a Blue Jays uniform. And a cut and a miss on the breaking ball for a strike. Two. Well, Saunders starting this game. They have Russell Martin and Dalton Pompey hitting ninth. So it's the first time in Major League history that 3 Canadian position players have been in a starting lineup. One ball, 2 strikes.
Defensive switch. Evan Longoria over to the second base side. Cabrera back to short, shading up the middle. Saunders has the entire left side of the field to work with.
That will slice out of play. There you go. You see Russell Martin, who was born in Ontario, went to high school in Montreal. Dalton Pompey from Mississauga, Ontario, and Saunders from Victoria, British Columbia.
Yeah, that's not close to here.
No way.
Way up there.
And they're not close together either.
No. Other side of the country.
Victoria, a beautiful city, but way out west.
It better be with the name Victoria.
Yes. 2-2. Of course, Mississauga is just a few minutes outside of Toronto. One out with the bases empty. The count goes full to Saunders. Ramirez made 14 pitches in the first inning. 11 of those were strikes. This is his second full count in this inning. Saunders takes it inside, and there's the walk. So with one out, a base runner aboard for the Blue Jays.
Well, that's the one thing that Ramirez has to avoid is the walk. Extra opportunities, mislocation.
And you know, he's very young. He was very young when he came up with Seattle. And interestingly enough, when you look at his command and control, and sometimes 2 distinctly different things, but that has faltered for him as he has progressed into his major league career. You know, he came up and he didn't walk many people, but by the time he left Seattle, that walk total per 9 innings was troublesome.
Every season, the base on balls per 9 innings has gone up dramatically. You know, and that's where, unless you're in his mind, the reasons why are going to be either a mechanical issue, a head issue, or maybe even a little combination of both. You know, are you trying to be too perfect with every single pitch? Are you giving the hitters too much credit? And what that ends up doing is if you're trying to be too fine, well, we know how that goes. You know, not only do the walk totals mount, but the bad counts mount. And that leads to hittable pitches.
And frankly, that's where he's been.
Yep.
Like back and forth into that area where he appears to be at times to be a little conscious of missing his spot, and it's out over the plate. And then you think, well, just throw strikes. Think about throwing strikes. And then he does, and he gives up a number of hits. And then you're left right back to the old drawing board. Pilar out in front, 1-2.
Because the stuff is good enough. You know, the stuff is good enough if he can locate it. And I don't mean it has to be right on the corner, but just put it where he wants it. It will play. The changeup, the fastball in the low 90s. He's going to sweep the breaking ball. Just a matter of confidence.
Saunders back in.
That's why the Rays talk so much about the process, because you can say, well, he needs to have more confidence out there. Well, when you don't have the numbers to back it up, it's tough to have that confidence if you're not seeing the results. But to get the results, you have to have confidence, and that's where it becomes the process. To get the results, you need to make the pitches, have a clear mind, pick a pitch, pick a spot, throw it there, execute, execute, execute. The results then will start to come around.
He gets it in on Pilar, and he pops it up. It's handled by Cabrera for the second out. And now Dalton Pompey about to step in. One ball, no strikes. Behind Pompey, and that'll get a visit from Bobby Wilson.
And doesn't want to let this get out of hand. You've got the number 9 hitter at the plate. 2 outs in the inning. Make a pitch, get it out, get your offense back in the dugout, raring to go again. It's the veteran Bobby Wilson recognizing the game situation.
The pop-up. Longoria making the call halfway to the mound. That'll take care of Toronto here in the second. Rays coming in to hit bottom of the second, tied. Go places. And by Bank United, offering a variety of checking, savings, money market accounts. Visit any Tampa location to open your account today. Leading off for the Rays is Desmond Jennings, taking a strike on the outside part of the plate, down around the knees. Oh, 2, Jennings, Forsythe, and Beckham. It's 1 and 2. Jennings had a couple hits last night, including a double his last time up. Fouls it. For Desmond, that was his first extra base hit of the year. And it came on his 60th at bat. Pitch drops low. Slider, and it's 2 and 2. Just to give you some perspective, Desmond had an extra base hit every 11.4 at bats last year. So you would expect at some point that's going to even up.
He's got some work to do.
Yeah.
He's got some work to do, and maybe getting that first one out of the way kind of jump starts the season for Desmond. There you go.
There's a base hit in the hole out of the reach of Reyes. And the Rays put the leadoff man aboard here in the second inning.
Waiting back nicely on that pitch down, and he's able to hit it hard enough. It eludes the dive of Reyes.
Now Logan Forsythe. Fastball misses.
I'll tell you what, the way the Blue Jays have Logan Forsythe defensed, and Logan can handle the bat, this is a perfect opportunity for a hit and run. Desmond Jennings being held on. Travis way up the middle defensively. The whole right side is open. You see right here, Evan Travis, and of course Smoke is going to be holding on Desmond Jennings, and that's an awful lot of room for Forsythe. You got speed on first. You can get him started.
Strike at the knees.
Yeah, and take note, Jerry Meals has been calling the ball down in the zone, especially the fastball that's way down at the bottom of the zone. A strike all night. Well, if you can get called strikes down there, helpful.
Yeah, you hope your team can get a couple runs, and then you hold the other team.
You just start burying them.
It's 3-1. On deck, Tim Beckham getting the start as the DH. And the Rays put the first 2 men aboard. Forsythe draws the walk, pushing Jennings up to second base for Tim Beckham. Let's take a look at our Toyota Trend with 2 strikes. He's hitting .346 with 3 home runs, 9 out of 26. 3 homers, 2 of those off Toronto left-handers, Aaron Loop and Jeff Francis. So do you just start with 2 strikes and see where you go from there?
2 and 2, to be fair. 2 and 2 is what he should ask for, and then go to work.
Well, he takes a strike, 0-1.
He's shown a couple of things here early in the season that you get excited about. Number 1 is that ability to hit with 2 strikes. Number 2, the work that he's done coming off the bench. 8 pinch hit appearances, 4 hits, 3 home runs, 2 home runs, and a triple as a pinch hitter.
And you know, it took Beckham a long time to get up here after it was that first overall pick in 2008. He had 7 at-bats for the Rays in 2013. He's had over 2,500 minor league at-bats. And so in that way, they all obviously, those at-bats have not been major league at-bats. He had only 7. But nonetheless, they're 2,500 at-bats. And you might learn something about your approach if you have that number of at-bats. It's not as if he's a kid just thrown into the major leagues all of a sudden. And he's down 0-2. Well, he takes strike 3 right there, a fastball. That one registering at 93. Might have been the hardest fastball the Rays have seen here in the early going from Norris.
Well, it was the best located fastball that we've seen from Norris, 0-2, and he just dots that inside corner. Not much you're going to be able to do with that pitch.
There's Jake Elmore. 1 out with 2 men on. Ball 1, too low. Well, Norris had talked about going through a period here where he felt he had a little bit of a dead arm. and his velocity had been down a little bit. And the young lefty trying to pitch through that right now.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. Today's his birthday. He's 22.
Yeah.
This is a different kind of league to start it. You know, last year at this time he was an A-ball. In fact, he started at Dunedin, right up the road, in A-ball. And he was there for 13 starts. Went to New Hampshire AA for 8 starts. Went to Buffalo AAA. Pitched in 5 games, 4 starts. Had 163 strikeouts and about 125 innings or so. And now he finds himself here, opening day roster, big leagues.
Runners take off. The pitch swung on, lifted into center. Ball will be caught. And the runners return to first and second. So Elmore lifts that one and flies to center field. Well, there is the travel log of Daniel Norris last year, starting at Dunedin. Then New Hampshire, Buffalo, and finally Toronto for 5 games.
Is it any wonder that he lived out of a van? And with you,
yeah,
that's where
absolutely.
you spent your summer?
It was VW van. Hooked up with some solar power to help him with his morning coffee, at least.
I love that part of the story. You need the morning coffee.
Yeah.
Morning coffee is just a staple.
Strike the count to Bobby Wilson. Wilson checked.
Well, the only thing that's unusual about Daniel Norris and the dead arm period is that's something that you usually go through in spring training. Spring training long enough that most guys, after an outing or two in spring, will go through dead arm. Then all of a sudden it comes back, and by the time the season starts, you're ready to go.
Chopper down to Donaldson. Throws to first. The Rays put 2 men on and leave them on at the end of 2, 1-1. Hard Facts brought to you by Clean, Crisp, Coors Light. And there's an upgrade already, VA, for the Rays defensively. They're at the top of the list in the American League right now.
And how funny, the very first play of the Rays season was an error. Rebounded nicely.
Top of the order for the Blue Jays here in the third, Jose Reyes. The pitch is a strike on the outside part of the plate.
Now, and it's not surprising either, because this is an organization that prides itself on its defense and athleticism.
Opening base hit here in the third. the line. And that was one of the things that was missing last year. Frankly, the defense left something to be desired compared to where it had been on a day-to-day and year in and year out basis leading up to last year.
So did the win total.
Yes, it did.
Followed right along.
Yep. So Reyes is aboard to lead off the inning. First time the Blue Jays have put the leadoff man on. And now Travis is off to this great start in his career. Fouls the first pitch away for a strike. Travis doubled and scored in the first. He has 5 home runs and 6 doubles already. And goes through the right side for a base hit, pushing Reyes up to second.
You know, the way that the Rays, and this has been the theme for both of these teams tonight, the way that they have defended some of these hitters with a runner on. First of all, the runner's being held on because he can run a little bit. You've got the whole right side of the infield wide open because Jake Elmore was shading way up the middle. You see him right here, and you've got all this room to work with. And by the way, Travis, the way that he's set up, slightly closed, that's just too easy for him. Too easy.
Josh Donaldson. And the breaking ball. Too low. 1 ball, no strikes. Down to third. Longoria to Elmore walk. First base 2. Hot shot to third, and the Rays turn it into a double play. Well, that eases the situation. Reyes advances to third and is there with 2 gone now.
Well, right at Evan, and that high hop. Evan able to corral it right at the heel of the glove and then make the feed to Elmore. Becomes pretty routine at that point. 2 big outs.
The Rays could make sure that they could take their time and turn that when it was hit so sharply, and they did exactly that. Here's Edwin Encarnacion. Strike 1 on the foul ball. Brandon Gomes up in the bullpen. One and one. Hot shot. That's foul. Down beyond Andy Fletcher.
There are a lot of bodies down the third base line. I mean, you've got Reyes, Longoria, Andy Fletcher, Luis Rivera, the third base coach, and that ball, how does it not find somebody?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to catch that. I mean, they're bunched up like that. Swing and a miss. Encarnacion out in front of the change. We're going to head into the bottom of the third, tied 1-1. Heard from Emily Austin yet, BA. It's about time. Emily, how are you?
I'm doing well, Dwayne. BA, how's it going? Daniel Norris, let's talk about this for a little bit. The Jays' #1 prospect lives in a van. After his $2 million signing bonus, he went out and bought a 1978 VW camper for $10,000 in 2011. He says it's his escape from the pressures of the major leagues. I was more concerned about how he cooks, but he does have a portable stove. First thing that comes to my mind is in a van down by the river.
Fly ball to center by Geyer, caught out there for the first out. Kevin Pillar puts it away. His story is pretty amazing, and we talked a little bit about it. You know, his approach is different. It's really low key. You know, he is nonplussed by the fact that here he is in the major leagues. He really tries to play that down. Truly a guy from Johnson City, Tennessee.
You know, it's so easy at such a young age to get involved in this game at this level, and the lifestyle that goes along with it. And things can get a little wobbly from time to time, and he's doing his absolute best to make sure that things stay in the proper order, perspective, keep perspective, outdoorsman.
Souza lifting a fly ball into right. Saunders there to catch it. 2 up and 2 down, and apparently he's always been that way. Obviously he was a great athlete growing up in high school and beyond in multiple sports, and never really saw himself as a guy who, you're the best guy on the team. He didn't buy being idolized or special treatment, any of that. Enjoys what he's doing, and that's the reward for it. There's Cabrera shooting it foul, out of play.
And that's refreshing, because that's not always the case. A lot of guys in a similar situation, there comes that sense of entitlement that, look at me, type of.
And there is a lot of that, certainly in sport, but not only in sport, where there is that sense.
Yeah.
And if you can have someone who checks that, a good idea. That's a foul ball.
No, nowadays, the more outrageous that you can act, the more outrageous that you can be, you're just guaranteed to get coverage. And if you get coverage, then you're known. And if you're known, it just goes on from there. You see it all the time.
Yeah. All you have to do is be known. Well, what'd you do? Well, nothing. I was known. Really?
Yeah. You want to start listing them? I've got a little list over here in my little black book.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have enough time to do that. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count on Cabrera. Two. Blue Jays got a run in the first, and the Rays got a run in the first. Daniel Norris against Erasmo Ramirez. And the Rays keep the bullpen busy.
And you wonder the way that Brandon Gomes, the way that he's going about it, he's not down there getting inside work. And so at this point, with him continuing to throw, you wonder if that may be the end of the road for Ramirez.
Tapper will be charged by Donaldson on a barehanded pickup and a wide throw. So Cabrera is aboard. Well, that's something we saw up in Toronto. Donaldson's not afraid to unleash his throws. He'll get to a lot of balls a lot of third basemen will not. And sometimes he's not as accurate, but he throws from all kinds of different positions.
Yeah, and right there, he just was not able to get through the throw. A nice job of charging it, barehanding, and then the throw just kind of sailed, wasn't able to get the hand out in front, and that has been his issue.
So there's an infield hit for Cabrera. Now Longoria lines one into left for a base hit. And with 2 outs, the Rays try to put something together. Evan 2 for 2. That base hit, the infield hit for Cabrera, his first hit against a left-handed pitcher. And here's the Longoria base hit.
Well, that was a changeup by Norris. There's not a big differential in miles per hour with the changeup and the fastball from Daniel Norris, and that one stayed up and out over the plate. Evan had a real good look at it, took advantage, extends the inning.
Desmond Jennings. Fastball for a strike at the knees. So an opportunity for the Rays to grab the lead here. Two.
Nice curveball there by Daniel Norris. We've seen the slider's hard sweeps, the curveball, that true 12-6 type break.
One and two, blocked by Martin. Norris worked 5 innings against the Rays in Toronto 11 days ago. Gave up 2 runs on 2 hits. Jennings, who was hit by a pitch in that game, scored the second run he gave up after Souza had homered in the first. 2-2 the count to Desmond. Jennings out on strikes. Changeup got him. Rays lead 2. We go to the 4th, tied 1-1.
Roster moves again after last night's game leading into today with the thought that Erasmo Ramirez hasn't really been stretched out. The Rays wanted more depth in their bullpen, and they picked up the left-hander Everett Teaford from Durham. He wasn't on the 40-man roster, so Alan Dykstra had to be designated for assignment. And Jose Dominguez, who picked up his first major league win in last night's game, sent to Durham. This won't be the last time we see Dominguez, more than likely. But, guys, great story for Teaford. Went to Korea last year. He admitted at that point he thought his days as a major league pitcher might be over, but here he is, given a chance with the Rays and in their bullpen tonight. Back to you.
Well, you know, they say when you break camp and spring training, everybody's happy that they made the opening day roster, but there are going to be a lot of those guys who are in camp show up in the major leagues during the regular season, and we have seen that already with the Rays because of injuries. They've really had to mix and match. and use the depth of the organization, and there's just another example of it. Smoke now behind in the count, out in front of a changeup. It's 1-2.
I can't imagine that Matt Silverman and company have been able to log too many hours of sleep with the way that they've had to move this roster around the first 3 weeks of the season. And that's what happens when, you know, the disabled list at one point had swelled to 12. I think it's still in the double digits, down 2.
Yep. This one grabbed by Forsythe down at first, and Smoke is the first out in the 4th inning.
You like to utilize, you know, the majority of your 40-man roster over the course of a season, and then maybe with some September call-ups, not in April.
Yep.
Catcher, Russell Martin.
Tieford, still only 30 years old. He'll be 31 next month. And we did see him in spring training. He's not overpowering, but had pretty good command in the couple of appearances we saw him in the spring. So you never know about things like that, and the Rays are certainly willing to look at players and add them to the organization with the idea that at some point or another, you know, right set of tools and abilities that they can match them up with the right sets of circumstances and get some success. They've been pretty amazing at that. And so here's another opportunity, maybe. As Todd mentioned, Tieford thought his big league days might be gone when he went to Korea to play. Down to first. Forsythe handles this one off the bat of Russell Martin. 2 gone. You'll flip over the limited edition Rays tumbler you get when you buy a Rays Flex Pack starting at just $59. Save up to 50% and pick any 3, 6, or 9 games with no blackout dates. Plus, get half off parking when using the funds loaded on your Rays card. Everything tastes better in an official Rays tumbler. Get yours at RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Michael Saunders. He takes a strike. Ramirez in the mid-50s in pitch count. And finds the zone around the knees, 0-2.
Very good on the strike-to-ball ratio. Starting to fill up the zone.
This one is down. When you look at his numbers, wherever he's been and has been successful, whether it was when he first came up with the Mariners or when he went back to AAA, that was the case with him. And it translated into strikeouts and low walks. Ground ball again to first. This time Ramirez covers, taking the toss from Forsythe. 3 up, 3 down in the 4th. 3.5 in the books. 1-1 tie. in MLB history presented by Geico. 20 years ago today, the Dodgers and Marlins hit the field, ending the Players Union strike after 257 days, including the cancellation of the 1994 World Series. And in recent years, the game has been fortunate enough to have labor peace. First pitch to Forsythe. He sends this one deep to right, but a couple steps from the wall. Saunders with room to make the catch.
I don't think that Major League Baseball realized the damage done to the game because of that. I mean, you go without the World Series. I'll never forget that phone call where when we went on strike, you know, you stay around for a week or so, and then all of a sudden it was, well, it's going to be a while, go home, and then all of a sudden you hear no World Series, season over. And the tremendous amount of damage was done to the game. They've wised up since then. Got a good thing going.
Tim Beckham takes a pitch high, 1-0. Just unfortunate that sometimes it takes that for both parties to wise up. I thought it was remarkable that fans responded in the numbers that they did. I mean, you know, attendance was off, and there was some residual bad feelings about that. But the fact that the game was shut down and both sides actually denigrating the game all that time, and you had people still coming back in significant numbers, not completely back, but under the circumstances, I thought that in retrospect spoke well of the health of the game itself and the affection that fans had for the game. You know, it'd be one thing if attendance was off half, ratings down half, but that was not the case. And they just built back up over time, but there was a dip. Full count here to Tim Beckham. One out, bases empty. Well, Beckham with 2 strikes now. And he takes that one on the outside corner. He's taken a couple close pitches for strike 3 in both at bats tonight.
Now, the first time it was a fastball, an 0-2 fastball in that locked him up. And now here in a full count, Daniel Norris is going to go away. And boy, he puts that in a great spot too.
2 gone. Jake Elmore takes a strike. Well, Brandon Gomes has not sat down in the bullpen. He was on the mound watching in the top of the 4th, and he's throwing again here in the bottom of the 4th. Back to the mound. Norris scrambles, picks it up, and goes to first. Elmore is out of there. And it's 1-2-3. On to the 5th. We're tied 1-1. Kevin Cash will make a pitching change as Brandon Gomes enters. After the Rays get 4 from Ramirez.
Well, Erasmo gave up that run in the first inning early on and then settled in. Started to fill up that strike zone. More than 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio. Got all of his pitches working. Kept the ball on the ground, used his defense, and ended up with a very efficient and tidy 4 innings of work.
So Brandon Gomes will face Kevin Pillar to open the 5th. And there's a strike. Pompey next, and then back around to the top of the order. 4th appearance for Brandon Gomes. Popper, shallow right, and in comes Souza. 1 away.
Well, you really got to tip your hat too to Ramirez because he came in those 3 outings and you saw what his numbers were. Your confidence is probably not at the very tip top, and then all of a sudden, second hitter of the game, doubles off the wall and right. Donaldson with a base hit, and you could take that mindset of, oh, here we go again. This is the highest scoring team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, they're tied for home runs. 20. They've hit 24 home runs, along with Baltimore and New York. And coming in, they'd scored 97 runs, now 98. So this has been a high-powered offense. Pompey fouls it. Of course, the Rays are not sorry at all that they don't have to face Jose Bautista, who has the shoulder strain. 1-1 to count on Pompey. Hit a home run off the Rays in Toronto. Hit a blast to right field. First time that Gomes has entered a game with nobody on base. He had stranded 6 men in his first 3 appearances.
You just hope there's enough pressure for him to still stay involved.
Fly ball toward left center, and Jennings is there. 2 gone.
Yeah.
2 up, 2 down. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. So keep an eye on the Rays competition and watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV. There's a first pitch strike to Jose Reyes. Reyes singled in the 3rd. 1 of 4 hits allowed by the starter Ramirez. 1-1. Gomes was in 2 games in the Boston series and made an appearance against the Yankees in that series. And he has Reyes reaching for that one.
Just did not recognize the breaking ball at all. Watch the awkward swing by Reyes, stepping in the bucket and then trying to reach the ball away.
And again, that slider, and he lays off this time. 2-2. Popper, shallow center. Souza coming over from right, makes the catch to retire the side. Steven Souza Jr. grabbing that one. 1, 2, 3, go the Blue Jays. We'll head into the Rays half of the 5th. Wilson, Geyer, and Souza Jr. due up. inning. Bobby Wilson to lead it off. Lines it into left field. Pompey back, reaching up, makes the catch as he hit the track. Well, almost took off on him, but he got back there. He's a lanky guy, and he used all of it right there to haul that one in.
Well, we've seen Pompey in center field, and he's playing a little bit deeper than the norm, and he needed all that because Bobby Wilson hit that on the button. Been an awful lot of that tonight. Pitchers appreciating the defense. We saw it to end the prior half an inning. Nice play by Souza out there in right field, and now Pompey to start out the bottom half.
Brandon Geyer takes a couple pitches out of the zone. 2-0. Two and one as he fouls it back. Geyer had a double and a walk last night, was hit by a pitch to open the fifth inning, and that started the 5-run uprising for the Rays. Off Martin's mask. 2-2. Geyer chases this one. Will be thrown out. The pitch in the dirt. 2 gone on the strikeout. In tonight's game and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Steven Souza Jr. walked and scored in the first. Out on a fly ball to right in the third. And lines it foul out of play. Strike one.
What was the series up in Toronto that got Steven Souza Jr. going? He had started out the season the first week. He was 2 out of 16. Had 1 run driven in, no home runs. And now the de facto leader offensively on this team.
0-2.
His last 10 games coming into tonight, the average at .325, 4 home runs, 10 runs batted in. We talked about the bunt hit that we've seen, the base running, the stolen bases. Doing a lot of things well right now, and you can just see in his body language the way that he just handles himself, the way that he moves around on the field now, so much more confident than just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, you get a few hits and hit 4 home runs, you start to feel as if this is where you ought to be.
Yep.
It's now 2-2. As Drupal Cabrera is on deck, should Souza continue this inning. Check swing and a bounder. Smoke will race it to the bag. Look out, fellas. Both one tumbles and the other slides, and Souza is out 3 unassisted. We're going to head into the 6th inning. A 1, 2, 3, 5th through 5, 1-1 ball game. Ramirez making the start for the Rays, giving them 4 innings of 1-run, 4-hit baseball. So that's a step in the right direction for the 24-year-old right-hander. Touch for a run in the first, and the Rays got it back on this double and dropped right on the right field line in the first, scoring Steven Souza Jr. with the tying run. And we go to the 6th inning right now. Brandon Gomes had a 1-2-3 fifth. And he's facing Devon Travis, red hot at the plate. The rookie second baseman. Donaldson next, and then Encarnacion. So some potent bats right here in this inning up for the Blue Jays.
And the list of categories that Devon Travis leads the rookies in, too many to even count. Too many to even read off.
Well, for T-Mobile, the game changer, and look at these 2 rookies and the impact they're making. So a couple talented young performers, Devon Travis and Steven Souza Jr. Grabbed by Cabrera, throw, got him!
Get out of here.
Great play by Cabrera, and a nice job on the receiving end by Forsythe.
Cabrera threw that no look. This is all of the years of playing shortstop, middle infield, familiar with where this ball has to go. Watch him get to it, and then he just turns and throws. There's no finding Forsythe, just throwing it. And then Logan got to stretch, keep that foot attached. Great job all around. Wow.
Forsythe making his 4th start of the year at first base, and a nice job right there. Boy, that's great to keep Travis off the bases in front of Josh Donaldson. And the Rays, who have been the best in the American League so far defensively, turned in an outstanding play right there.
This is a great shot at it. You just know where that bag is. Get it close.
Two and one. You've got that inner picture in your mind where you are, where first base is, and let it fly.
Yep. Hey, you spent enough time out there. Absolutely right. But not a lot of guys would make that throw like that.
Ground ball right side. That's going to find its way through. And Donaldson has his 2nd hit tonight.
I'll tell you what, even the Rays with their defense on that play could not seal up that hole. Logan Forsythe way off of first base, trying to cover that right side, and Donaldson still able to sneak it through. He's another one of the hitters. You talk about the Toronto Blue Jay offense being led by Travis and Donaldson.
The pitch to Edwin Encarnacion is a ball. 1-0. Strong right-handed hitter Encarnacion, the DH. Takes a big cut, got just a little bit of that one, a foul right back into the mid of Wilson. Rays get more action up in the bullpen, by the way. Steve Geltz starts to loosen. Two and one. There's Geltz.
The Swiss Army knife. I'm telling you, this guy got a save the other night, got a start, got his first win.
Well, you're not surprised to see him up and in at any point of the game. Outside now, 3-1.
You got to be careful here. Encarnacion not off to the hottest of starts for the Blue Jays, but always dangerous. You know the kind of power that he's flashed the last few years. And he's got a good count here to work with.
There's strike two. Full count. Runner goes. Pitch is a strike, and the throw safe is the call. Donaldson got away from the tag. That's a close play down there. Encarnacion out on strikes.
Now let's take a look at Elmore with the attempt here, and he's trying to reach, but you see Donaldson just slides by. Doesn't give him anything to get that glove on. Doesn't worry about getting to the bag quite yet. Realizes he's not been touched, and then here comes the left hand. But look at him avoid that tag. Very, very good call out there at second base by Jordan Baker. Bobby Wilson, he thought he had him. They had a shot to get him. The ball was there in plenty of time. Just a better slide by Donaldson.
Donaldson gave him the old slippery fish move there. Got out of the way and has himself his first stolen base of the year. Now he's going to head to third. Boy.
We've seen the shift at times this year bite the Rays on balls that are put into play. Here it bites them on defensive setup. Donaldson realizing there is nobody at third base, and so it becomes a race between Evan Longoria and Donaldson over there. Heads up base running all around by Donaldson.
His first two steals of the year. There's a strike to Justin Smoke. Up by Wilson. 1-1.
You wonder what's going through Donaldson's mind at that point where he gets a lead off. He knows that Evan is the only one on the left side, and he peeks back to like, if he doesn't pay attention to me or puts that head down, I'm gone. And then it becomes just a straight up race.
Strike on the edge. 1-2. Well, that's a heads-up play by Donaldson. You got to give him a lot of credit for that. Into the dirt, and you see that's why that's such a great play with 2 outs.
More ways to score.
Yeah, you got it. Take it.
I'm going to go with the split. Ahead in the count 1-2, and Bobby Wilson doesn't cover that ball up.
And a cut to miss. Smoke out on strikes on the split. No runs ahead, the man left. We're still tied 1-1. Get in on the action with exclusive on-field seating in the Papa John's bullpen box. Host your group of 50 to 85 in this private party area and leave long-lasting memories. To reserve the Papa John's bullpen box, contact Group Sales at 888-FAN-RAYS. Email groupsales@raysbaseball.com. Limited dates remain. Asdrubal Cabrera leads off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 1 ball, no strikes.
This Rays pitching staff between Ramirez and now Gomes continues to put up zeros. Give the Rays offense an opportunity to try to figure out Daniel Norris, who has really settled in nicely after giving up that run in the first.
And he has Cabrera chasing the changeup.
The one thing that he's been able to do at this point is Daniel Norris has established that fastball down in the zone, and then he started to let his off-speed pitches work off of that. We've seen some good curveballs. We've seen some very good changeups.
There's a ground ball right side. Travis rights himself after making the pickup and throws out Cabrera. So out number 1 here in the 6th. Let's check in now with Todd Callis.
Dwayne, tomorrow it is a Kids Sunday and Family Fun Day, and the kids 14 and under will get these Desmond Jennings batting gloves. That'll be a cool little item here. It says DJ number 8 on the back of the batting glove with his signature and the old Rays on the Velcro. So that's tomorrow as the Rays wrap up this series and wrap up the homestand against the Toronto Blue Jays. Kids 14 and under, Desmond Jennings batting gloves. Back to you.
All right, Desmond Jennings will bat in this inning. The first pitch to Evan Longoria is a strike, and we must say that these gloves also double as scoring gloves. You can keep score in these. Grab the pencil, it doesn't move, and it improves your penmanship.
Yeah, and I got to say, they're little tight. I mean, these definitely are for kids. I can't write very well, and they're somewhat uncomfortable because they're a little bit small for me. But I will tell you this, I feel very fleet of foot with them on. I feel like it doesn't do me a whole lot of good up here, but I feel like I can fly.
2-1 the countdown.
And with the flaps in the wind, who's going to catch me? Dwayne, who's going to catch me?
And nobody's going to catch me.
That's not with those going.
No. 2-2. Longoria chasing the changeup again. Norris 1 out into the 6th. He has 5 strikeouts on the night, 1 in each of the first 5 innings. Evan lines it into left field. That's a base hit. Pompey makes the stop, a leaping stop out there. Evan is 3 for 3 in this game.
And that first hit, he was able to just place perfectly down the right field line for the RBI double. But how about getting on top of that fastball? We're showing a quick bat right there, and Evans able to launch that thing out into left field. Pompey plays it on the hop.
Desmond Jennings. Pitch inside to Desmond. Well, the Rays get a base runner here. Norris had retired 8 in a row. It's going to slice out of play. 1-1 the count. Desmond coming off 2 hits in last night's game. It's 1-2. closing in on 90 pitches. There goes the bat. And Jennings is out on strikes.
We need Todd to run down Desmond Jennings a pair of his own batting gloves. Yeah, he's trying to hold on to that bat as long as he can after recognizing the off-speed pitch. And then there goes the launch. Shopik-esque.
But not quite the distance. So in that category,
and not
it
nearly,
falls just short.
Not nearly the number of
rotations of the
right.
helicoptering.
Yep.
Well, that's part of what gave Shopik such great distance, was the ability to helicopter that bat.
We've not seen anybody do it like him since.
Nor should we expect to. Forsythe with a 2-strike count. Osuna, the right-hander, up in the bullpen. And they have some strong young arms out there in that pen. Tap to third, even with the bag. Donaldson's throw on the money. A hustling Forsythe getting down there. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the 7th, 1-1 tie. Sea-Doo Spark is the most affordable watercraft on the water. By Courtesy Toyota, you'll love what we do for you. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Steve Geltz becomes pitcher number 3 for the Rays tonight. Blue Jays have a run, 5 hits. The Rays have a run, 5 hits. And on comes Steve Geltz.
Already for the 9th time, you see that he has a start. He's got a save. He's got a win.
He faces Russell Martin. The first pitch is upstairs. 1-0. Fastball up this time. 2-0. 4 innings for Erasmo Ramirez. 1 run, 4 hits. 2 innings for Brandon Gomes. No runs, 1 hit, and a couple strikeouts. Cut and a miss. Martin liked the fastball up, but missed it. 2-1.
Well, Steve Geltz has that ability to miss bats without having to throw 95 to 99. He's got a good firm fastball, but it's got late jump at the end. He really has an explosive type fastball, even though it may not light up all the radar guns.
Yeah, that's something the Rays saw in him last year in a limited number of appearances and innings, but they detected that. One of the reasons that he got such a great look in the spring, and here he is doing all kinds of jobs on this pitching staff at all times of the game. There's a shot deep into right center, and that's going to get out of here. Russell Martin goes to right center and hits a 3-1 pitch out to give Toronto a 2-1 lead.
Well, what benefited Russell Martin there was seeing fastball after fastball, and then finally he gets one where he can get his arms extended. Not quite where Steve Geltz wanted it, and a good finish on that swing. And boy, oh boy, you drive it out to right center here as a right-handed hitter. You caught it clean.
Michael Saunders. Ball, no strikes. Third home run of the year for Martin. 25 home runs for the Blue Jays as a team. And they again take over the major league lead in home runs as a team. Foul out of play.
You know, that's what's scary too, because that's with Jose Bautista's not even in the lineup right now, and he's not gotten off to the quickest of starts. And Encarnacion, you know, he's got 4 home runs, but his batting average hovering right around 200. He hasn't hit his stride yet, and yet this team, as you just pointed out.
Saunders out on strikes. First out. Well, you look at the East, and we talked about it back in the spring about how the division certainly seems to be open. It's anybody's race, and that's certainly been true. You know, at the start of the day, the Red Sox and the Yankees were 10-7. The Rays and the Blue Jays 9-8, and Baltimore 7-10. Bunt by Pilar is foul, or is it? That might be a fair ball.
Yeah.
And Bobby Wilson quickly out in front of the plate throws him out.
Well, Kevin Pilar tried to rope-a-dope us by not running, but that good bounce by Bobby Wilson on a ball that bounced out in front of the plate. He's able to corral it before it comes back to earth, and who knows where it goes at that point, but he runs right out there, gets it, fair ball, absolutely.
So 2 gone. Dalton Pompey. That's a strike. Pompey is popped to third, hit a fly ball to center field. One and one. Strike around the knees. There's a slider in there.
I will tell you this, Dwayne, you're going back, and we may not even be able to get it in depending on what Geltz does on this pitch here. But talking about within the division, it being winnable. We'll get back to it.
Pompey chases a high fastball out on strikes. Middle of the 7th, 2-1 Toronto. Here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live. The pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll hear from Chris Archer, who will be on the mound for the Rays. And Arestas will break down Tim Beckham. And Daniel Norris back out there on the hill for the Blue Jays. And now Tim Beckham will lead it off. Goes after the first pitch and pops it to the left side for the shortstop Reyes. One pitch, one out.
Second baseman, number 10, Jake Elmore.
Daniel Norris gave up a run in the first, and not much since then. Just 4 hits since the first. Elmore looks at a pitch low.
Dwayne, getting back to what we were talking about within the division, you know, one of the red flags in the American League East is you start to look around at the starting rotations. You know, these are the guys that are going to go out there and set the tone for your ball club. And right now, the 3 worst starting rotations in the American League are the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Orioles, and all with ERAs north of 5 as a starting rotation. And that's where really the open division, the feeling that anybody can win it, that plays into it big time.
And there are those who wonder about the Yankees rotation and where it might finally settle.
CC Sabathia started today. He struggled once again against the Mets.
So get healthy and play good solid baseball. Elmore takes the 3-1 and lifts it into left for Pompey to adjust, and comes in now. 2 gone. Well, the Rays show all the signs of doing that. They caught the ball. They played good defense. They get Smiley back last night. He looked good. So one by one, if they can get these very important parts of the pitching staff back. And on the offensive side, they got Loney last night. He responded. Here's Smiley. Bobby Wilson takes the ball. One ball, one strike. Bottom half of the 7th. It's a 1-run ball game. Two balls and a strike.
You know, I would have, and I know that there's a lot that goes into putting a lineup together, but you would have loved to have seen James Loney out there. You know, this is a guy not only defensively, but since he's come over to the Rays, you know, over 315 games now, he's hit 276 against lefties, just over 300 against righties. I mean, this is a guy that, you know, it really doesn't matter. His approach is so sound. He's so fundamentally sound. He has such good balance at the plate and plate coverage. He hits them both very well. Wouldn't be too many days off for me and James Loney, what he brings to this club. Maybe he'll get a chance late to come in and do something. He's got the batting gloves on. He's ready.
Yep. It's a good option to have coming down to the wire here in a 1-run ball game. And ball 4 way high on that one. A 2-out walk. Well, since Jennings struck out to end the 3rd, the Rays now have had only 1 hit and only 2 base runners. Longoria's 1-out single in the 6th and the 2-out walk to Wilson here in the 7th. Now we go to the top of the order again, Brandon Guyer. That's a strike at the knees.
Well, he's been good down there. Norris has been good with the fastball down. The other pitches playing off of that. But you know, if you're the Rays, he's settled in nicely. But maybe that hiccup walk to Wilson. Brandon Guyer's seen him now for the 4th time.
This one gets away and down to second base. was Bobby Wilson on a breaking ball in the dirt.
Easy. Bobby Wilson took a strong turn out there at second base, thinking maybe 3. There's a breaking ball. You see the depth on it. Gets away from Russell Martin, and then Bobby Wilson.
Well, now Wilson's going to be lifted as he's in scoring position, and Kevin Kiermaier will be the runner. So Kiermaier pinch running for Wilson. Geyer swings and misses, and that retires the side. Rays leave a man. We go to the 8th, 2-1 Toronto. Tonight's game summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. Erasmo Ramirez started for the Rays, worked 4 innings. Gomes, Geltz, and now Ernesto Frieri follow. Geltz touched for the home run in the 7th inning by Russell Martin, and that's the difference in this 2-1 game. Rene Rivera takes over behind the plate as we play in the 8th. David DeJesus in there and left, and Kevin Kiermaier running, pinch running, stays on to play center. Jose Reyes, the hitter, 1-1 the count to him. There's a long one that's well foul. Reyes jumped on that one. 1-2.
Well, that floated right back into his swing. Jose Reyes has a very quick bat, you know, from both sides of the plate, trying to swing down on the ball, chop on the ball, use the speed. Well, he caught that flush, fortunately, way foul.
Just a bit outside, 2-2.
I like that look that Reyes took at that pitch by Frieri. Get down on his haunches, take a peek.
And he reaches out to spoil this one. Foul it away. 2-2 still.
Very entertaining at bat. Jose Reyes, high energy.
And he's called out on strikes here. He took a good look at that one. Jerry Meals calls him out.
Save the best for last.
Second baseman, Devin Travis.
Right there, barely on the edge. Devon Travis. It's a strike. Travis to the College World Series with Florida State. Was in the Little League World Series with a team from East Boynton Beach. One and one, the count. It's on the corner. 1-2. He's pitching, holding the Blue Jays to 2 runs. He came in leading the American League with 97 runs scored. 99 right now. Still 1-2. That fastball in.
As much as the Rays have seen of Devin Travis beating them to the right side, you would think that they would want to crowd him a little bit from time to time, although he turned on the fastball in last night for a home run.
Yep. So we talked a little bit about that. When he was over Detroit, the Tigers got him to lower the hands a little bit, work on responding to that pitch in and handling that. And he's shown the Rays the ability to do that. And then strong the other way to right center.
Well, he's got a strong swing, as you see right there, him fouling that pitch back. You know, but typically when you would see a hitter start to lower his hands, they would become a target. You know, you would, but his hands.
At some point, you got to get him up a little bit.
Yeah, you do. You got to load. You've got to load. But his hands are so quick that if you don't get it right to the spot, he can get the barrel there, and he's shown that.
And you see where his hands are now. They're not way down.
No.
They're just lower than where they were. He had a little higher start, and the Tigers had him drop him a little bit, and he's carried that in, and well, he's quick inside.
Yep.
Oh, nice pitch right there. Frieri with a slider gets him looking.
That was a very good pitch. Frieri, that breaking ball, the sweeping action, just catches Travis off balance.
So 2 up, 2 down. Josh Donaldson is the hitter. He has 2 hits, 2 steals, and a run batted in tonight. Strike 1. Donaldson looking for the fastball on that first pitch.
Got tied up with a changeup. Sometimes you go up there looking for one thing, kind of sell yourself out for it. Same thing right there. Another changeup. This one better located. But still Donaldson way in front.
And He got him. Stayed off speed with him. 1, 2, 3. Go the Blue Jays in the 8th. Souza, Cabrera, and Longoria due for the Rays in the bottom of the 8th. Presented by H.H. Gregg, and it's the overall performance of Daniel Norris, the 22-year-old left-hander.
Well, been a little bit of a struggle at the start of this season here for Daniel Norris, but I'll tell you something, as this game moved along, he got better and better and better. He was able to incorporate all of his pitches against this Rays lineup, and he finishes with that line right there. 7 strong innings, just 1 earned run, and now we'll turn it over to the bullpen.
Steven Souza Jr. facing Roberto Osuna. A changeup right out of the box here. Osuna with a good arm, making his 8th appearance. He has given up nothing. 10 strikeouts, 3 walks. Pitch is up, 1-1. Osuna, 20 years old, out of Mexico. Cut and a miss.
Easy cheese.
Yep.
Osuna fastball slider. We saw the changeup to start off this at bat against Souza. Good mound presence, quiet delivery, explosive arm.
He had Tommy John surgery when he was 18 years old. So he's coming back from that and has been lights out so far for the Blue Jays. Castro, another hard-throwing young right-hander. Brent Cecil, the lefty, busy with him. Count still 1-2. Piece of that one foul. Holds the count at a ball, 2 strikes. Roberto Osuna. Uncle Antonio spent parts of 11 years in the major leagues. His father pitched in Mexico, and so did Roberto Osuna, who pitched in the essentially the equivalent of the Mexico minor leagues when he was just 16 years old.
For a 20-year-old, he looks very polished. It's surprising on one hand when you watch him now at 20. Not that surprising because he looks like, and as you mentioned, coming off the Tommy John surgery just 2 years ago.
Cut and a miss. Souza Jr. is out on strikes. Boy, you get a guy who throws that plus that hard. Tough.
And the changeup.
Yep.
We saw 3+ pitches in this sequence to Souza Jr. Followed up with the slider at 87, the fastball in the mid-90s, the changeup low 80s. All very good. Tough at bat.
There's Asdrubal Cabrera. Strike the count. Mid-90s there, and it's an 0-2 count. Difference in the game now, the home run by Russell Martin in the 7th inning. And strike 3 called. Fastball in, 2 up, 2 down.
Osuna with the hard stuff. We're going to drive the pitch right to the spot. You can see the layout too. The backdoor slider up with the heater and then in with the heater.
Both pitching staffs now have chalked up 9 strikeouts. Evan Longoria with the bases empty, facing Osuna. Ball 1.
Well, it's been a good day for Evan Longoria. 3 out of 3. See if he can keep it riding here in the 8th.
It's 1-1. Two balls and a strike. And Boxberger up in the bullpen for the Rays. He runs it to 3-1. Rays saw Osuna for 2 innings in the first game of the series against the Blue Jays up in Toronto. He came in after the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey in that game. Fly ball right field. Here comes Saunders, and that's going to drop for a base hit. Longoria drops a single into right. His 4th hit tonight.
Oh, another hit that was well placed. Evan will take it right off the end of the bat, but they're playing deep on Evan. You see him reach out there. That was right off the end of the bat. There was nobody that was going to get to that, and the inning does extend.
Now David DeJesus is due. John Gibbons will make a pitching change. He wants a left-hander. To find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com and buy your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Well, David DeJesus, who entered the game in left in the top of the inning, hits in the spot vacated by Jennings, will face the left-hander Brett Cecil. Pitch is a strike. DeJesus 1 out of 6 against Cecil, who's making his 8th appearance. Covered up by Martin.
Boy, how about that cover up by Martin? You know, 1-run ball game, a runner at first base, and he got out and over top of that breaking ball to keep it from ricocheting from side to side. Watch him get out, but then get over the top of it and knock it straight down. That is excellent.
Ground ball, that's gonna go through. Into right center. Over to third goes Longoria. DeJesus against the lefty. Grounds a base hit.
Well, you knew it was going to be a tough at-bat for DeJesus. John Gibbons coming out to make a change, but he stays down and through that baseball, doesn't give up ground to Cecil, and he finds a hole.
Gibbons now wants the right-hander. James Loney, who's on the Rays bench, will get the call from Kevin Cash. So if you're wondering if we would see Loney, well, here's the spot for him. Last night, came off the DL and homered in his second at bat, connecting off R.A. Dickey. And he'll face the exact opposite of Dickey now, and Miguel Castro, who throws hard.
A big fastball. He's 4 out of 5 in saves. He has given up a couple of home runs, but you're going to have to get it started early.
First and third for the Rays. Loney hitting for Forsythe. And a liner into right. That ball's going to go to the wall. Longoria scores. DeJesus will be held at third on the double by Loney, and the game is tied. DeJesus with a full head of steam rounding third, suddenly had to put on the brakes.
Charlie Montoyo, the third base coach, was way down the line, so he was far out in front of DeJesus, trying to come in, and Loney, boy, he's able to pull the hands through, barrel that baseball up off the wall, and then David DeJesus get stopped and get back.
Second and third now, a tie game. And here's Tim Beckham. Put in. A ball and no strikes. The Rays saw Castro for an inning and a third in the series in Toronto and scored a run off him. Turned out to be the winning run in a 3-2 victory. Two and 0. Castro, tall, lanky right-hander. And he can light up the radar gun. Out of the way. It's 3-0. Jake Elmore on deck. After 2 strikeouts by Osuna, Longoria dropped a base hit into right. DeJesus singled off Cecil, and Castro surrenders the double to Loney. Now 3-0 to Beckham. Down the left field line, back toward the corner. Gone! Home run from Beckham on a 3-2 pitch. That ball might still be in play, and apparently it is. Rays want the home run. Beckham's at second, signaling home run, and Kevin Cash wants to come out to talk this one over.
I'm with you, partner. I think that ball got out of here. That's what Kevin Cash is probably going to take a look at this. Absolutely.
Well, the Rays are 0 for 9 in challenges.
This may be the one.
This certainly should be the one. Swinging 3-0.
Oh, no. Right off the yellow, right off the top of the wall. And this call may not go for them.
I think you're right.
Oh, my goodness. I thought that hit, just like you said, that was a missile right there by Tim Beckham. And it's going to be, a quick and easy call. No good.
It's going to be a double.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah, that's all right. He's still got the lead, but doggone, 0 for 10 now.
Rays 0 for 10 in challenges. So Beckham swinging 3-0, missed a home run by that little silly millimeter. Wow.
They've got that metal piping up there on the top of the wall. Painted yellow, and that's what caused that ricochet, and you could see it clear as day here. Boom, right off the top.
Yeah, they need to take that top pipe off. So it hits the yellow line, which means the ball is in play. The Rays have a 3-run inning. Now John Gibbons is out talking with Jerry Meals, and I'm wondering if he's trying to make the case that there could have been fan interference out there and trying to get one of these runs taken off the board. That's what the only thing I can think that he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the runners.
And Jerry Meals says no. Meals umpired Game 1 of the World Series last year, and so he's just going to say no, and we're going to go back to play here. But the Rays have a 4-2 lead. And how about Beckham delivering that big two-base hit on a 3-0 pitch, and he just missed his 4th home run of the year.
Well, we've seen him a couple of times tonight with 2 strikes take some fastballs where he had swung the bat very well with 2 strikes, and I was just, forget that. 3-0 count, turn it loose. This is an aggressive team.
Elmore takes a strike. Well, that yellow line is in play.
I'll tell you what, Kevin Cash has really turned this lineup loose. As far as on the base paths, we've seen him aggressive.
There goes Beckham in a ground ball. Second. Travis throws him out. And so the Rays are finished in the 8th. But they put a 3 spot up there. A double by Loney drives in a run. And then Beckham makes a bid for a 3-run homer. He settles for a 2-run double. Rays lead 4-2. Live the postgame presented by Checkers. Todd DeRestis will anchor the coverage. He'll have the press conference from Kevin Cash and interviews from the clubhouse courtesy of Emily Austin. James Loney, big pinch hit double. The Rays put 4 hits in a row together and scored 3 times. So Loney's at first. Brad Boxberger takes over on the mound.
Well, perfect in saves in his 8 games. 12 strikeouts and 7 in the 3rd innings. Continuing that trend. And he started last year big strikeout numbers.
This pitch to Edwin Encarnacion is a ball.
I'll tell you what, Dwayne, you look back at that last half inning. James Loney should not even be in this game.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that.
You think about that base hit by DeJesus, and then the decision by John Gibbons to go and get Brett Cecil. Right there you say, do I want Brett Cecil versus Logan Forsythe, or do I want the youngster Miguel Castro against one of the better hitters in the game, James Loney? And you let him come off the bench, and then everything broke loose.
Well, here's the challenge, and Castro has a great arm, but he finished last year in high A ball. He finished the year.
Yeah, not start.
Yeah, he finished the year.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough assignment. And he does have 4 saves, but still, Brett Cecil was closing for you.
Oh, knocked down by Longoria. Picks it up, throw to first. Got him at first base. And Loney, a big part of that play. Longoria stayed with it at 3rd, and Loney stayed with it at 1st.
A double hopper. And this wasn't a one-bounce scoop. Evan Longoria playing right on the line, taking away anything to try to get down for doubles. That ball up and off of his body. He finds it quick, rushes the throw, and it's going to bounce a couple times here. And Loney down. Nice play. Foot stayed on the bag. The throws in time. The foot's there. He got him. Absolutely. Confirm it, baby.
So the Chrysler Challenge here. The Blue Jays challenging this one.
And you really can't blame them with the part of the game that they're in. Leadoff man aboard, but clearly the foot on. This is easy.
And he's out at first. Boy, that's some great work there on both corners by the Rays. So here's another case where Loney being in the game makes a difference, this time with his glove. We talked about that last night, his return. He helps you with his bat, he helps you with the glove, and within just a few moments, examples of both.
You hear it referred to in other sports. This particular player makes everybody around him better. That's what James Loney does. As good as he is with the glove, he makes all those infielders. He covers up a lot of, tough throws. A double hop throw there by Evan Longoria that he had to rush over there. And, if he bobbles that thing around, you give an air to Evan and you move on. But I'll tell you, he just sucks those things right up.
A 1-1 count to Justin Smoke. Close there, a miss, and it's 2-1. Did he go? Yes, he did. It's Andy Fletcher down at third, confirming.
Justin Smoke had made his mind up to swing at that pitch. And that pitch out of the hand of Boxberger was up and off the plate. And he still could not hold up.
And a bit. Full count.
Well, I'll tell you, I think Brad Boxberger wanted that. Rivera is set up away, so he catches it outside of his body, but this ball is over the plate.
Oh, yes, it is. Change up, foul back. He'll do the 3-2 again. And he got it. Struck him out. Came back with a changeup. 10 strikeouts for Rays pitching tonight.
That ball off the plate the entire way. And Justin Smoke, not wanting to leave anything up to chance, is going to take a swing at it and miss wildly.
So Martin now, the pitch is a strike. Martin homered in the 7th to give Toronto a 2-1 lead before the Rays scored 3 in the bottom of the 8th. And a chopper right side. Loney steps on the bag and the Rays win it. And how fitting it was that Loney should take care of the 27th out unassisted. 1-2-3 against Boxberger in the 9th for Toronto. And the Rays have taken game 2 of this series. It's a 4-2 final as they come back and win this one.
Boy, how about that? Well, you just go back to that 8th inning.
So the Rays celebrate a comeback victory tonight. James Loney delivers a double, pinch hitting in the 8th.
And that was after that inning started out with strikeout. And then all of a sudden, Evan pops one in there, drops one into right field. David DeJesus finds a hole. The pitching change. And then Loney, Beckham, and off they went. Very quickly, the Rays were able to tie it up, take the lead, and finish it off. This is what, the 3rd or 4th straight come-from-behind victory by the Rays.
Yep. Right now, Todd Callis is standing by on the field with Tim Beckham.
Dwayne, thanks. Another huge hit for Tim Beckham. It was one of those nights where they pitched you tough, and then you got a 3-0 green light. How did that feel when you saw that sign?
I felt great, man. I knew I had runners in scoring position, and I just wanted to see the ball in the zone and put a good swing on it.
Take us through that. When you're 3-0, do you try and not get too anxious there?
Well, when you're 3-0, when I'm 3-0, I know I can tend to get long sometimes and hitter counts, and I just want to make sure I stay short to the ball and put a barrel on the ball, and hopefully it'll fall into play.
Did you think that was out?
I thought it was out. I thought it was out, but it's the umpire's call, man. They challenged it and said there's not enough evidence, so we won the game, man. That's all that matters.
One thing your hitting coach told us before the game is he's so impressed with your 2-strike hitting ability. Tonight, it was a 3-0 pitch, but what's your attitude when you go up there and do your thing with 2 strikes?
Well, when I get 2 strikes on me, man, I as a hitter, everyone has a physical ability, man, but we tend to get ourselves out sometimes, and I just try with 2 strikes. I try not to get myself out. I want to make sure I see that ball in the zone and trust my hands and put a good swing on it.
Tonight, you went up against some tough pitching. That's why the 4-2 win is so impressive. Norris was really good tonight, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was impressive tonight, man. I faced him at least 4 or 5 times, and he pitched me really well tonight. First at bat, struck me out on the cutter end. Second at bat, full count, two seam down and away for another strike, and he was impressive, man. I tipped my hat to him, and I'm ready to get after again.
Final question, Tim. You don't get your chance unless James Loney does his thing off the bench. He's had a couple of impressive at-bats since coming back.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely a big bat that we've been missing, and he's put together some good at-bats since this is the second game back, and yesterday he came up with a big home run, and today he came up with a big hit. So we're more than happy to have him back, man, and we're ready to get after tomorrow.
Nice job tonight, Tim. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, guys, back to you.
Rays make it 4 in a row. They knock off the Toronto Blue Jays here 4-2. They've taken the first 2 games of this series with Toronto. Frieri the winner, Brett Cecil the loser, and Boxberger picks up his 5th save. 2 hours and 31 minutes. Same 2 teams tomorrow. We'll be with you at 12:30 for the wrap-up game of the series. Chris Archer against Mark Burley. For Brian Anderson and the rest of our crew, Dwayne Stats. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast. Rays Live, the post game next.